There is a kind of decline that many people accept as an inevitable part of growing older. A little less energy, a little more stiffness, a gradual slowing down that feels so natural, so expected, that it hardly raises concern. But here is what is rarely discussed. Some of the most common physical changes that get attributed to aging are not caused by the passage of time at all. They are caused by habits so ordinary, so deeply woven into daily life, that they go completely unnoticed. The body has an extraordinary capacity to maintain itself for decades, but it can be quietly undermined by things that seem perfectly harmless. A pill taken for pain, a convenient food chosen for health, a medication used exactly as directed. These small, repeated choices send signals to every system in the body. And over years, those signals accumulate. The result can feel like aging, but it is something else entirely. It is the slow, silent outcome of patterns that were never questioned. And once you see them, once you understand what is actually happening inside, the path forward becomes remarkably clear. You are about to discover what those patterns are, why they matter more than most people realize, and what it really means to protect the systems that keep you independent. You are listening to the Longevity Library, where we archive the wisdom of healthy aging. The long view. Understanding the architecture of healthy aging. There is a question that becomes more meaningful with each passing year. What does it actually feel like to grow older well? Not just to add years to life, but to maintain the kind of vitality that allows those years to be lived fully, independently, and with clarity. It is a question that has occupied philosophers, physicians, and ordinary people across every culture and century. And while the answers have varied, certain patterns have emerged that are worth considering. If you were to observe the oldest and healthiest populations around the world, you would notice something immediately. They do not share a single miracle food or a secret exercise routine. They do not all follow the same diet or take the same supplements. But they do share certain underlying patterns, ways of moving, eating, resting, and relating to others that seem to create the conditions for a long and well-lived life. This is not about reversing aging or chasing immortality. It is about understanding the body as a system that responds to how it is treated over decades. The choices made today, and the habits repeated day after day, send signals to every cell, every organ, every system. Those signals accumulate. They shape the trajectory of aging in ways that are gradual but profound. The kidneys offer a useful lens through which to view this process. They are often described as the body's filters, and this is accurate as far as it goes. But they are also regulators, chemists, and messengers. They help control blood pressure, activate vitamin D for bone health, and signal the production of red blood cells. They are affected by hydration, by diet, by medications, by blood pressure, by blood sugar. In this sense, they are a kind of canary in the coal mine for overall health. When kidney function declines, it is rarely an isolated event. It is usually the result of multiple systems under stress over a long period. What follows is an exploration of the factors that influence how we age, with particular attention to the principles that support the body's filtering and regulatory systems. It is organized not as a checklist, but as a set of interconnected ideas, a way of thinking about health that prioritizes consistency over perfection, and understanding over prescription. The question of time and tissue. Every living system is subject to the passage of time. Cells replicate, accumulate damage, and eventually slow their renewal. Blood vessels lose some of their elasticity. Muscles, if not used, become smaller and weaker. Bones may become less dense. These changes are not diseases. They are the normal process of biological aging. But the rate at which these changes occur is not fixed. It varies from person to person, and it is influenced by a wide range of factors, some genetic, many environmental. The study of longevity has identified certain genes that appear more often in people who live exceptionally long lives. But genetics are only part of the story. Identical twins, with the same DNA, can age at very different rates depending on their lifestyle, their environment, and the cumulative stresses they encounter. This is where the concept of biological age becomes useful. Chronological age is simply the number of years since birth. Biological age is an estimate of how well the body is functioning relative to that number. Two people aged 70 may have very different biological ages. One may have the cardiovascular fitness, muscle mass, and cognitive sharpness of someone decades younger. The other may have accumulated damage that makes their body function like someone much older. The difference often comes down to how the body's systems have been treated. The kidneys, for example, are designed to filter blood and maintain chemical balance for a very long time. They have a remarkable capacity for adaptation, but they are also vulnerable to sustained stress. Chronically high blood pressure forces them to work under excessive pressure, gradually damaging the delicate blood vessels inside them. Consistently high blood sugar, as seen in poorly managed diabetes, creates a kind of chemical stress that can damage the filtering units themselves. Frequent use of certain pain medications can reduce blood flow to the kidneys, starving them of oxygen. None of these effects happen overnight. They accumulate over years, often silently. The body compensates until it cannot. This is why the habits that seem harmless in the moment, the daily pain reliever for arthritis, the steady stream of processed foods, the years of undiagnosed high blood pressure, can have such significant consequences later in life. Understanding this changes the way we think about daily choices. It shifts the focus from short-term relief or convenience to long-term system maintenance. The goal is not to avoid all stress, but to avoid the kind of sustained stress that outpaces the body's ability to repair and adapt. The principle of flow. One of the most fundamental requirements for health is the uninterrupted flow of blood. Every organ depends on it. The brain requires a constant supply of oxygen and glucose. The heart muscle itself needs blood through its own set of arteries. And the kidneys, which filter the entire blood volume many times each day, are particularly sensitive to changes in blood flow. Blood delivers oxygen and nutrients while carrying away waste products. When flow is reduced, tissues become starved. When flow is excessive or under too much pressure, vessels can become damaged. The body has elaborate systems for regulating blood pressure and flow, but these systems can be overwhelmed over time. High blood pressure is perhaps the most common disruptor of healthy flow. It is sometimes called the silent condition because it produces no symptoms in most people, yet it gradually damages blood vessels throughout the body. In the kidneys, this damage takes the form of thickening and narrowing of the small arteries. As the vessel walls become stiffer and the passageways become smaller, less blood can get through. The kidney tissue begins to suffer from lack of oxygen. Over time, this leads to scarring and a permanent loss of function. This process is not inevitable. Blood pressure responds to a variety of factors, many of which are within an individual's control: body weight, physical activity, sodium intake, stress levels, and sleep quality all influence blood pressure. For some people, medication becomes necessary, and this is not a failure. It is simply a recognition that the body's regulatory systems need assistance. The key is to monitor blood pressure regularly and to take action when it trends upward, rather than waiting for symptoms to appear. There is another way that blood flow to the kidneys can be compromised, and it involves a class of medications that are used by millions of people. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, known as NSAIDs, include common pain relievers like ibuprofen and naproxen. They are effective for reducing inflammation and relieving pain, which is why they are so widely used. But they have a specific effect on the kidneys that is worth understanding. Inside the kidneys, certain chemical signals help keep blood vessels open, especially when the body is under stress. These signals are part of a system that ensures the kidneys continue to receive enough blood even when overall blood volume is low, such as during dehydration. NSAIDs interfere with the production of these signals. They essentially block the body's ability to keep kidney blood vessels dilated. The result is that the vessels narrow, reducing blood flow to the kidney tissue. For a young, healthy person who is well hydrated and uses an NSAID occasionally for a headache, this effect is temporary and unlikely to cause harm. But for someone who uses these medications frequently, or who has underlying health conditions like high blood pressure or diabetes, or who becomes dehydrated, the reduction in blood flow can be significant enough to cause injury. Over time, this can contribute to a decline in kidney function. This does not mean that pain should be ignored or endured. It means that the approach to pain management should be thoughtful. For chronic pain, there are often alternatives to daily NSAID use. Physical therapy, appropriate exercise, hot and cold therapy, and other non-pharmacological approaches can be effective. When medication is needed, acetaminophen is sometimes a safer option for the kidneys, though it has its own considerations and should be discussed with a physician. The key is to avoid the habit of reaching for NSAIDs as a first-line, long-term solution without understanding the potential consequences. The question of volume. If flow is about the movement of blood through the vessels, volume is about the amount of fluid in the system. The kidneys are the primary regulators of fluid balance. They adjust the concentration and volume of urine based on the body's needs, retaining water when dehydrated and excreting excess when overhydrated. Dehydration is a common and underappreciated stressor on the kidneys. When fluid intake is insufficient, blood volume decreases. Blood becomes thicker and more concentrated. The kidneys receive less blood, and the blood they do receive has a higher concentration of waste products that need to be filtered. The kidneys must work harder under conditions of reduced supply. This state is known as prerenal stress, meaning the problem originates before the kidney itself. The kidney tissue is healthy, but it is not receiving enough blood to function properly. If dehydration is corrected promptly, the kidneys usually recover fully. But if dehydration is severe or prolonged, the lack of oxygen and blood flow can cause actual damage to kidney cells. This is one reason why ensuring adequate fluid intake is so important, particularly for older adults who may have a diminished sense of thirst. There are many reasons why dehydration occurs. Some people simply forget to drink throughout the day. Others intentionally limit fluids to avoid frequent bathroom trips, especially when traveling or during social activities. Illnesses that cause vomiting or diarrhea can rapidly deplete fluids. Certain medications, including diuretics taken for high blood pressure, increase fluid loss. In hot weather or during physical activity, fluid needs increase substantially. The opposite extreme, overhydration, is less common but potentially more dangerous in the short term. Drinking far more water than the kidneys can process leads to a dilution of the blood. Sodium levels drop, a condition called hyponatremia. Sodium is essential for nerve function and for maintaining the balance of fluids inside and outside cells. When blood sodium falls too low, fluid can move into cells, causing them to swell. This is particularly dangerous in the brain, which is enclosed by the skull and has no room for expansion. Cerebral edema, or swelling of the brain, can lead to seizures, coma, and death. Overhydration severe enough to cause this level of harm is rare and usually involves consuming enormous quantities of water in a short period. often in the context of misguided challenges or endurance events where fluid is consumed without adequate electrolyte replacement. For most people, the risk is dehydration, not overhydration. A practical approach to hydration involves paying attention to the body's signals. Thirst is a reliable indicator that fluid is needed. Urine color is another useful guide. Pale yellow, like lemonade, generally indicates good hydration. Dark yellow or amber suggests a need for more fluid. Completely clear urine throughout the day may indicate more fluid than necessary, though this is usually harmless as long as it is not accompanied by symptoms. For most adults, a total fluid intake of around 2 to 3 liters per day is a reasonable target. This includes water, other beverages, and the water content of foods. Fruits and vegetables like watermelon, cucumbers, and oranges contribute significantly to hydration. The exact amount needed varies based on body size, activity level, climate, and individual health conditions. People with certain types of heart or kidney disease may need to limit fluid intake and should follow their physician's guidance. The metabolic load. Every substance that enters the body must eventually be processed and eliminated. The liver handles much of the chemical transformation, breaking down compounds into forms that can be excreted. The kidneys handle the filtration, removing these breakdown products along with excess minerals and water. This means that the diet directly determines the workload placed on the kidneys. Some foods create more metabolic waste than others. Understanding this relationship allows for choices that support kidney function rather than straining it. Protein is essential for maintaining muscle mass, supporting immune function, and repairing tissues. As people age, adequate protein becomes increasingly important to counteract the natural tendency toward muscle loss. But protein metabolism produces nitrogenous waste products, primarily urea, that must be filtered by the kidneys. The more protein consumed, the more urea the kidneys must process and excrete. For individuals with healthy kidneys, this increased workload is manageable. The kidneys have a significant reserve capacity and can adapt to higher protein intakes, particularly when hydration is adequate. But for those with reduced kidney function, the situation is different. The kidneys may already be working near their maximum capacity. Adding a high protein load forces them into a state of hyperfiltration, where they must maintain high internal pressures to clear the waste. Over time, this can accelerate the decline in function. This is not an argument against protein. It is an argument for matching protein intake to individual needs and kidney capacity. For someone with known chronic kidney disease, a moderate protein intake, often in the range of 60 to 70 grams per day, is typically recommended. This provides enough protein for maintenance without overloading the kidneys. For someone with healthy kidneys who is physically active, higher intakes may be appropriate. The key is to know one's kidney function and to adjust protein intake accordingly, ideally with guidance from a healthcare provider who can interpret laboratory values. Beyond protein, there are other dietary components that affect the kidneys in less obvious ways. Sodium is perhaps the most significant. High sodium intake increases blood pressure in many people, and high blood pressure damages the kidneys. But sodium also creates a direct workload. The kidneys must actively excrete excess sodium, a process that requires energy and affects fluid balance. The challenge with sodium is that it is ubiquitous in processed foods, even those that are marketed as healthy. A vegetarian sausage made from plant proteins may seem like a wholesome choice, but checking the nutrition label might reveal that 2 sausages contain 400 or 600 milligrams of sodium. In the context of a full day's meals, it is easy to exceed recommended limits without ever adding salt at the table. Phosphorus is another mineral that deserves attention, particularly as kidney function declines. Phosphorus is essential for bone health and energy metabolism. Healthy kidneys maintain phosphorus levels within a narrow range by excreting any excess. But when kidney function is reduced, phosphorus can accumulate in the blood. High phosphorus levels are associated with calcium deposits in blood vessels, bone disease, and itching. The complicating factor is that phosphorus is added to many processed foods in the form of phosphate salts. These additives are used as preservatives, flavor enhancers, and texture agents. They are found in many processed meats, cheeses, baked goods, and beverages, including some dark colas. Unlike the phosphorus that occurs naturally in foods like beans, nuts, and whole grains, which is only partially absorbed, the phosphorus in additives is almost completely absorbed by the body. This creates a sudden load that the kidneys must handle. For individuals with compromised kidney function, this can push phosphorus levels into a dangerous range. The practical solution to these dietary challenges is to shift toward whole, minimally processed foods. A diet built around fresh or frozen vegetables and fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, and appropriate portions of protein from animal or plant sources naturally limits sodium, phosphorus additives, and other unnecessary chemicals. Cooking at home, even simply, provides control over ingredients. When processed foods are used, reading labels becomes an essential habit. Checking sodium content and scanning ingredient lists for phosphorus additives allows for informed choices. The problem with quick fixes: there is a powerful appeal to the idea of cleansing or detoxifying the body. The metaphor is compelling. The body accumulates toxins, the thinking goes, and these toxins must be actively removed through special products, teas, or protocols. The kidneys are filters, and filters get dirty. Therefore, they must be cleaned. This metaphor, while understandable, is fundamentally misleading. The kidneys are not passive mechanical filters like the one in a furnace or a car. They are living organs composed of millions of tiny, complex structures called nephrons. Each nephron contains a filter called a glomerulus, but this filter is not a mesh that traps particles. It is a sophisticated biological structure that selectively allows certain substances to pass while retaining others, based on size, charge, and the body's needs. When kidney tissue is damaged by disease, high blood pressure, or diabetes, the nephrons do not become clogged with debris. They become scarred, inflamed, or deprived of blood flow. Scarred tissue cannot be unclogged. It cannot be cleansed back into function. This is why the idea of a kidney cleanse has no basis in physiology. What is marketed as a kidney cleanse or detox is typically a combination of herbs, diuretics, and other compounds. Some of these may increase urine output, which can create a temporary feeling of flushing. But increasing urine output does not improve the underlying function of the kidneys. It simply increases the volume of water passing through them. If the kidneys are already struggling, forcing more urine production can actually be stressful. More concerning is that many of these products contain ingredients that have not been evaluated for safety, particularly in the context of kidney disease. Herbal supplements are not regulated in the same way as pharmaceuticals. The contents of a bottle may vary from batch to batch, and the actual ingredients may not match what is listed on the label. Some herbs have been documented to be directly toxic to the kidneys. Aristolochic acid, found in some traditional Chinese medicine formulas, is known to cause permanent kidney damage and is associated with an increased risk of urinary tract cancers. Other herbs can interact with prescription medications, altering their effectiveness or increasing their toxicity. This is not to say that all herbs and supplements are harmful. Many have been used for centuries and have legitimate uses. But the decision to take any supplement should be made with the same care as the decision to take any medication. It should be discussed with a physician who knows the individual's complete health picture, including kidney function and all medications being taken. The supplement bottle should be brought to appointments so that ingredients can be reviewed. The body has its own sophisticated systems for eliminating waste. The liver processes chemicals and prepares them for excretion. The kidneys filter the blood and remove the processed waste in urine. The intestines eliminate solid waste. These systems operate continuously, without the need for special cleanses or detox protocols. Supporting them is not about occasional heroic measures. It is about the consistent, daily habits of eating well, staying hydrated, moving the body, and avoiding unnecessary toxins. The importance of awareness. One of the challenges of kidney health is that kidney disease is often silent until it is advanced. The kidneys have a remarkable ability to compensate for lost function. It is possible to lose a significant percentage of kidney capacity before symptoms appear. This is why routine monitoring is so important, particularly for people with risk factors. Blood tests can measure kidney function with reasonable accuracy. Creatinine is a waste product from muscle activity that is normally filtered out by the kidneys. When creatinine levels in the blood rise, it suggests that filtration is slowing. Estimated glomerular filtration rate, or eGFR, is a calculation based on creatinine, age, sex, and other factors. It provides an estimate of what percentage of normal kidney function remains. A urine test can check for protein, which should not normally pass through the kidneys in significant amounts. Protein in the urine is often an early sign of kidney damage. These tests are simple and widely available. They are often included in routine annual blood work. Knowing these numbers provides a baseline. It allows for early intervention if function begins to decline. It also provides reassurance when function is stable. For people with high blood pressure, diabetes, a family history of kidney disease, or other risk factors, monitoring becomes even more important. These conditions place sustained stress on the kidneys, and the effects accumulate over time. Regular testing allows for adjustments in treatment before significant damage occurs. Blood pressure monitoring at home is another valuable tool. Blood pressure readings taken in a medical office can be affected by anxiety, rushing, or the stress of the appointment itself. Home monitoring, done consistently under calm conditions, provides a more accurate picture of true blood pressure. It also allows for observing how blood pressure responds to diet, activity, and medication. Many pharmacies carry validated blood pressure monitors that are easy to use. The goal of monitoring is not to create anxiety about numbers. It is to gather information that allows for informed decisions. Health is not about achieving perfect numbers on every test. It is about understanding where one stands and making adjustments that support long-term well-being. Knowledge replaces uncertainty with awareness, and awareness is the foundation of wise choices. The question of medication. Medications are powerful tools for managing health conditions. They can lower blood pressure, control blood sugar, reduce pain, and treat infections. But every medication has effects beyond its intended purpose, and these effects can sometimes place stress on the kidneys. The relationship between medications and the kidneys is bidirectional. The kidneys help eliminate many drugs from the body. When kidney function is reduced, drugs can accumulate to higher levels than intended, potentially causing toxicity. This is why medication doses often need to be adjusted in people with kidney disease. Conversely, some medications can directly affect kidney function, either by altering blood flow, causing inflammation, or forming crystals in the urine. This does not mean that medications should be avoided. It means that medication use should be thoughtful and informed. Prescriptions should be taken exactly as directed. Over-the-counter medications should be used with awareness of their potential effects. All medications, including supplements and herbal products, should be reviewed periodically by a physician. Pain management deserves particular attention because pain is common and pain relievers are readily available. The goal is to find the safest approach for the individual situation. For acute pain, short-term use of medication under controlled conditions is usually low risk. For chronic pain, a comprehensive approach that includes physical therapy, exercise, stress management, and other non-drug strategies may reduce or eliminate the need for daily medication. When medication is necessary, the choice of which medication and at what dose should be made in consultation with a healthcare provider who understands the individual's kidney function and overall health. The body in motion. The kidneys do not exist in isolation. They are part of an integrated system that includes the heart, blood vessels, nerves, and muscles. What benefits the cardiovascular system generally benefits the kidneys, and what harms the cardiovascular system generally harms them as well. Physical activity is one of the most powerful interventions for maintaining cardiovascular health. Regular movement helps control blood pressure, improves insulin sensitivity, supports healthy body weight, and reduces inflammation. All of these effects reduce stress on the kidneys. The type of activity matters less than the consistency. Walking is accessible to most people and has well-documented benefits for cardiovascular health. Swimming and water aerobics provide buoyancy that reduces stress on joints while still providing cardiovascular conditioning. Strength training helps maintain muscle mass, which supports metabolism and physical function. Balance exercises reduce the risk of falls, which can have serious consequences. The key is to find activities that are enjoyable and sustainable. Movement should not feel like punishment or a chore. It should feel like a natural part of daily life. A walk after meals, gardening, dancing to music, playing with grandchildren, these all count as physical activity. The goal is to reduce sedentary time and to move the body regularly throughout the day. For people with existing health conditions, it is wise to discuss exercise plans with a healthcare provider. Some conditions require modifications or precautions. But for most people, the benefits of movement far outweigh the risks. And the biggest risk is not moving enough. The question of rest. If movement is one side of the health coin, rest is the other. The body repairs itself during periods of rest and sleep. Cells regenerate, tissues rebuild, and the brain consolidates memories and clears metabolic waste. Sleep is not a passive state. It is an active period of restoration. Poor sleep has been linked to a wide range of health problems, including high blood pressure, insulin resistance, and inflammation, all of which affect the kidneys. The relationship is bidirectional. Kidney disease can disrupt sleep, and poor sleep can worsen kidney function. Supporting healthy sleep is therefore part of supporting kidney health. Creating conditions for good sleep involves several factors. Consistency is important. Going to bed and waking at similar times each day helps regulate the body's internal clock. The sleep environment matters. A cool, dark, quiet room is conducive to rest. Exposure to bright light, particularly the blue light from screens, in the evening can interfere with the production of melatonin, the hormone that promotes sleep. Dimming lights and avoiding screens for an hour before bed can help. Daytime habits also affect sleep. Regular physical activity promotes deeper sleep. Exposure to natural light, particularly in the morning, helps regulate circadian rhythms. Avoiding caffeine in the afternoon and evening reduces sleep disruption. Managing stress through relaxation practices, gentle movement, or simply setting aside time to unwind can make it easier to fall asleep. For some people, sleep problems persist despite good habits. This is worth discussing with a healthcare provider. Sleep apnea, restless legs syndrome, and other conditions are treatable, and addressing them can have significant benefits for overall health. The social dimension. Humans are social creatures, and social connection appears to be a factor in healthy aging. Populations with high rates of longevity often have strong social networks and intergenerational connections. Older adults who remain engaged with family, friends, and community tend to have better health outcomes across multiple measures. The mechanisms are not fully understood, but several possibilities exist. Social connection may reduce stress and its physiological effects. Having people to talk to and rely on provides emotional support that buffers against life's challenges. Social engagement also encourages activity and provides structure to days. People who are socially connected are more likely to be physically active, to eat regular meals, and to have regular sleep patterns. Conversely, social isolation and loneliness are associated with poorer health outcomes. The experience of loneliness triggers physiological stress responses that, over time, can contribute to inflammation, high blood pressure, and other problems. This is not about the number of social contacts, but about the quality of connections. A few close relationships matter more than many superficial ones. Maintaining social connections as we age requires intention. Friends move away, family members become busy, and the natural opportunities for social interaction that come with work or raising children may diminish. Creating new connections takes effort. Joining groups based on interests, volunteering, participating in community activities, and staying in touch with family and friends through phone calls or visits all help maintain the social fabric that supports well-being. There is also the question of purpose. Having a reason to get up in the morning, something that feels meaningful, is associated with better health and longer life. Purpose can come from many sources: family, work, creative pursuits, learning, spirituality, service to others. It does not have to be grand or world-changing. It simply has to be personally meaningful. The sense that one's life has direction and value appears to have protective effects on health that are measurable and significant. The question of consistency. If there is a single principle that emerges from the study of healthy aging, it is the power of consistency. The body responds to the accumulated effect of daily choices, not to occasional heroic efforts. A healthy meal once a week does not compensate for a diet of processed food the rest of the time. A single walk does not offset weeks of sitting. An occasional good night's sleep does not make up for chronic sleep deprivation. This is both challenging and liberating. It is challenging because it requires sustained attention to habits over years and decades. There is no quick fix, no supplement that can replace healthy patterns. But it is liberating because it means that small, consistent choices matter. A slightly better diet, a little more movement, a few minutes of stress reduction each day, these add up over time. The person who walks for 20 minutes most days, who cooks most meals at home, who maintains a few close friendships, who gets adequate sleep, who monitors their blood pressure and takes medications as prescribed, is creating the conditions for healthy aging. The body has remarkable capacity for adaptation and repair, but that capacity is not unlimited. It can be overwhelmed by sustained stress. The goal is not to eliminate all stress. That is neither possible nor desirable. Some stress, like the stress of physical activity, actually stimulates adaptation and strengthens the system. The goal is to avoid the kind of chronic, unremitting stress that outpaces the body's ability to recover. This applies to the kidneys as much as to any other system. They can handle occasional challenges, a high-protein meal, a day of dehydration, a dose of pain medication, as long as they have time to recover. The problems arise when the challenges become constant. Daily high-protein intake without adequate hydration. Daily NSAID used for chronic pain. years of undiagnosed high blood pressure, decades of a highly processed diet. These are the patterns that accumulate damage. A broader perspective, looking across cultures and throughout history. Certain patterns emerge. Traditional diets, before the era of industrial processing, were based on whole foods prepared simply. People moved throughout the day as a natural part of life, not as a scheduled exercise session. Social connections were built into the fabric of daily existence. Sleep followed the rhythms of daylight. Stress, while certainly present, was often acute rather than chronic, a response to immediate threats rather than a constant background hum. Modern life has brought many benefits, but it has also disrupted these patterns. Processed foods are convenient, but often carry hidden sodium, phosphorus, and other additives. Sedentary work and entertainment have replaced physical movement. Social connections require more effort to maintain. Artificial light extends the day and disrupts sleep. Chronic stress has become normalized. The challenge is to navigate modern life while preserving the patterns that support health. This does not mean rejecting all conveniences or living like previous generations. It means being intentional about choices. It means reading labels, cooking when possible, finding ways to move, prioritizing sleep, maintaining connections, and managing stress. It means working with healthcare providers to monitor key indicators and adjust treatments when needed. The kidneys, like the rest of the body, are remarkably resilient. They can maintain function for a very long time if they are not constantly overwhelmed. The habits that support them are the same habits that support the heart, the brain, and every other system. There is no special diet for kidney health, no secret supplement, no magic protocol. There is only the consistent application of basic principles: adequate hydration, balanced nutrition, regular movement, sufficient rest, meaningful connection, and thoughtful use of medications and supplements. The path forward. Aging is not a disease to be cured. It is a natural process that can be experienced well or poorly. The difference often comes down to the accumulated effect of daily habits. The choices made today are sending signals to every cell in the body, shaping the trajectory of the years ahead. This is not about fear or perfection. It is about awareness and intention. Knowing that high blood pressure damages the kidneys over time is not a reason to panic about every elevated reading. It is a reason to monitor blood pressure and take steps to keep it in a healthy range. Knowing that certain medications can affect kidney function is not a reason to avoid all medication. It is a reason to use medications thoughtfully and to discuss them with a healthcare provider. Knowing that diet creates a metabolic load on the kidneys is not a reason to obsess over every meal. It is a reason to favor whole foods over processed ones and to pay attention to portion sizes. The body has been adapting and repairing itself for millions of years. It knows how to maintain itself under the right conditions. The role of conscious choice is simply to create those conditions, to provide the raw materials the body needs, to avoid unnecessary toxins, to move enough to keep systems active, to rest enough to allow repair, and to stay connected enough to maintain purpose and meaning. There is no finish line in this process. There is no point at which one has done enough and can stop. Health is not a destination, but an ongoing practice. It is the daily repetition of small choices that, over time, shape the course of a life. The person who understands this, who approaches each day with a sense of gentle consistency, is practicing the oldest and most reliable form of medicine there is. The kidneys will continue their silent work, filtering blood, regulating chemistry, maintaining balance. They ask nothing more than to be supported in that work, not overwhelmed by constant stress, not starved of what they need, not poisoned by substances they cannot handle. In return, they will continue to do what they have always done, quietly and reliably, for as long as they are able. And that, in the end, is what healthy aging looks like. Not a dramatic triumph over time, but a quiet partnership with it. Not a desperate fight against decline, but a steady effort to create the conditions under which the body can do what it does best: maintain, adapt, and persist. The habits discussed here are simply ways of honoring that partnership, of supporting the systems that support us, of living in a way that acknowledges the remarkable complexity and resilience of the human body. The years ahead will bring changes. They always do. But the trajectory of those years is not fixed. It is shaped by the accumulated effect of daily choices. And those choices, each one small in isolation, together create the architecture of a life lived well. The single most important idea to carry forward is this: the body responds to the accumulated weight of daily habits, not to occasional heroic efforts. An understanding that changes everything about how we approach the years ahead. If this conversation sparked a thought, a memory, or a new way of seeing something in your own life, consider sharing it in the comments. Your perspective might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. The longevity library exists because wisdom grows when it is shared, and every voice adds depth to the archive. If you found value in this recording, there are others waiting for you in the library, each one exploring a different dimension of what it means to age with strength and clarity. Subscribing ensures that new wisdom finds its way to you. This is the Longevity Library. Listen, learn, and live longer.